This episode of the Turf District podcast is brought to you by Taproot Edmonton, which publishes curiosity-driven stories, topical newsletters, and locally focused podcasts, all in the service of informing Edmontonians about their community. Taproot publishes a weekly food roundup, sharing the latest on the restaurants, chefs, producers, events, and more. It's curated by Sharon Yeo, a longtime blogger at Only and a keen student of Edmonton's food scene. Subscribe to the Food Roundup for free at taprootedmonton.ca. Enjoy the show.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another. And another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody, light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. And we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported, and we are also a part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. Welcome in and welcome back to a week where we basically had an unplanned bye. So we're going to have some, that sounds like title of the podcast. Anyway, we're going to have a little bit of fun this evening. We're going to talk some CFL news. We're going to talk some Elks news. And of course, we're going to finally get to set up another Labor Day game. And we all know what that means, but we'll talk to him in just a moment. First, it's the one and only Super fan Mike.
Am I an S or can I do that?
No, you can do it. Yeah, it's
wow.
We figured it. Yeah. Although no, I mean, you're always an S in my books, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do appreciate the gentlers though. That was that's the part that's exciting.
That's right. I need to have a little TM sign that appears just to.
Yeah, I gotta work on all our OBS things. A TM right on the side every time you do gentlers. How you been? How was your week, man?
It's been good. It's been, I mean, Mondays are always really busy at work, but once you sort of sort through have you turned it off and turn it back on again for the 18th time by 9 o'clock, you're usually pretty good and you can sail through the rest of the day. So
then you only have to ask it another 20 times.
Exactly. Oh, and I did go undefeated in Pick'em this week.
Oh, look. Now, did the flyover happen today?
No, I was surprised. I thought it being, I mean,
free gas for a year.
Technically, I went 4 for 4 because I did predict the Elks would not lose. So
that's probably.
They didn't. I mean, they might lose that game months from now, but so far,
but
they have not.
No, for now, you've done the right thing, Superfan.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, and everybody is very excited as they continually watch for your flyover. You'll get it over after you go undefeated next week, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Hey, you also picked up a win in fantasy. Look at you go.
I did. My very first fantasy win.
Yeah.
I was thinking that me winning was a fantasy, but no.
you found
Apparently, it came down to the last day, and it came down to one player on each side, and he went with Darvin Adams, and I decided to go with Kenny the King Lawler, and how about that?
And 2-0 is proud, and you win. That's fantastic.
That's right.
Not only that, but the district boys going 1-2 in the points this week. That's pretty good. I like that.
That is pretty exciting.
I'll take it. Thank you to Cooper Trooper for setting that all up. I was taking on Safamod from the Piffles podcast this week, and of course I'm actually now taking on Ryan from the CFL Countdown this week. So make sure that you guys are watching those shows. Who do you have Kura this week, don't you?
I do. Oh. It's the battle of the 1 and 3s.
Ooh,
it's the toilet bowl.
Fancy. Gotta love that.
Yes.
That's amazing. So we'll keep everybody updated as we go there. Now,
yes,
Mike, when we get ready for the Labor Day game, we take a deep breath and we do a little bit of Zen music in the background, and we send out a text to one of our good friends from down south. And he has returned once again. It is our favorite villain. It is Ryan Valentine. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. Can I just tell you how honored I am to be involved in the 208th anniversary special? I know such a huge milestone episode.
That's right.
And to be asked to be included is just so heartwarming. It makes me feel so good. Having been a regular guest throughout the years, just this 208th anniversary special. Gents, I'm honored to be here.
What I feel I should do is I should ask Tyler to have like the little flaming numbers for every show and change it every time. And it can be like 208, 209, 200, whatever. Then people will know what show it is. I mean, it's good to know that there's a backlog that they could go and listen to. I think that's important.
I think exactly.
Yeah,
there are 207 episodes.
That's
yeah.
And there's at least 4 that have you. I mean, that's so they know which ones to avoid. They could just go to the other.
I want to say it's more than that.
Is it?
I think I'm probably I expected my 5-timers jacket already in the mail, but I didn't get it.
Oh.
So I imagine it's coming at some point. But
COVID.
I think it's probably just because Kayla runs the lounge and she's terrified of me, which is why she never shows up on the show when I'm on.
So wasn't that the same? Wasn't that the same for Brian Desjardins? Like every time he was here, Kayla was here. Joe
or Balaneski.
Yeah. So you're not totally alone there, Ryan. I mean, it's good.
No, there's several people Kayla's afraid of, and that's fine. That's okay.
That's okay.
Someday.
Oh, one day she is going to take you on.
Surprise her. Sneak up.
She's going to take you on one day, and we're going to be glad it's a video podcast because Mike and I are going to be sitting like this.
Just sit back.
Just sit back, hands over mouths. How you been, Ryan? I mean, it has been a while since we've chatted. Obviously, with everything going on. I mean, but it's nice to have football back. It's nice that we have reasons to chat, and other than just being friends, it's good that we have a chance to actually chat again. But how you been?
I've been good. I mean, I think like everybody else, the last year and a half, 18 months has been a bit of a struggle. Fortunately, I was able to remain gainfully employed throughout the pandemic, as was my wife. So financially, we didn't find much of a hardship there, and we've been able to stay healthy, and all of our family has been able to stay healthy through this. And I think, coming out of a worldwide pandemic, I still have everybody that I love and care for, and I haven't been kind of ruined or made destitute by this. So, I mean, geez, put me in the top 1% of luckiest people around.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely, being able to get through it, and more importantly, all the people you care and love about the most are still here. It's important.
Yeah.
Including your puppy dogs, because I saw pictures of your puppy dogs the other day, and they're so cute. They're awesome.
Yes. The Milton and Matilda, my little chunnels. They're half English bulldog, or half English, half French bulldogs. So I call them chunnels. I don't know that that's an actual breed name, but that's what I'm going with. They're cute, they're lazy, they're fat, and they're out for a walk right now.
Wow.
Me too.
And, I was just going to say, I sound like I'm a chunnel. That's good to know. That's fantastic. I'm glad I finally have a tag, because I was worried that I'd never get a tag.
Right.
Now I know. Yeah. I'm going to change my name in there. It'll be Andrew the Chunnel on the next podcast. I'll set that up specifically for you.
Number 209 Flames.
That's right. 209 up in flames up at the top. It's very good. Thank you, Mike. That's good. All right. Well, let's talk about the news at hand. We talked about it last Monday, that the Elks had positive cases. At that point, it was 9 confirmed cases. That number did get as high as 14, which then was back down to 13, with one of them being a false positive. But the good news is we've had no new cases in 4 days. So the protocol is saying 10 days from the initial case, which runs up this Wednesday. So we have an opportunity that we could be playing a Labor Day game on Monday, which is very important. I'm hoping that comes to fruition. And I know that it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people, and I understand that. But I think the main part that I know that we were saying last week that I kind of want to reiterate is that I'm glad the guys that were positive are okay, and that the main report that's coming out of it is that they've had minimal and some no symptoms, and that part is great. But I think it just kind of hammers home to me that, this isn't gone away yet, and we need to be doing the right things. And along with that news, lots of teams, and now including ours, is going ahead with having the COVID, the vaccine passport, basically, to get into games. So
all 9 teams.
All 9 teams are now. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So Ryan, I know you that was a thing that came both for the Flames and the Stamps down in Calgary, and I assume that you're in full agreement based on your Twitter.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, this is. I don't understand anybody that doesn't have the shot at this point. I just don't. Unless a doctor has physically told you, don't do this, which I can accept. Of course.
Yes.
There are going to be people that cannot get the shot. Those are the people that we need to protect. So if you can get it, you should get it. And somehow we've walked into a world where people are saying that medical, vaccine that they've created, I'm not quite sure about that. But this horse dewormer, that seems like a great way to save my body. I can't. I've had enough of it. And if teams and businesses doing this and mandating this kind of thing is going to be what gets people to finally get the shot, then fine, great. That's what I want, because my kid goes to games. Now, my kid's 12. Not all of his friends are. He's got some 11-year-old friends. He's got some 10-year-old friends. And the Delta variant is proving to be even more deadly in children. And so as a result, you not getting your shot and going to the game and unwillingly infecting a child, at what point did our society get to the point where people are saying, I don't care if I put your kid in danger anymore, as long as I get to go to see a football game? If that's who you are when you look in the mirror,
fire trucker
yourself. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I've had enough of it. The shot's been available. You've had time to get it. And if this is going to be what finally pushes you over the edge, great. Welcome finally to the club. But if you don't want to get it, I don't want you around anyway, because I don't want you giving it to me because I can still get it even though I'm vaccinated. And then I give it to one of my son's friends, and that kid dies because you didn't get the shot. It's ridiculous. It's so much better that the teams are doing this. I wish more teams were going to the stringent level that Calgary is and saying vaccine only, not vaccine or negative test, vaccine. That's it. Get it or don't come. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right way to go. And I'm happily, I will argue with you for days and days and days on Twitter if you decide that you're wrong, that I'm wrong about this. But understand, I will beat you into just getting it eventually, just to make me shut up.
See, now the province should have you go out there. That'll drive the numbers right up.
So, by the way, the province is saying, I don't have to have they're not going to create a vaccine passport, but the province is going to create a small printable card that has your vaccination status on it so that you can show it when asked. What the
fire trucker
is the difference?
That's a fair point.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Are they going to make a card though? I thought it was just the My Health app.
Well, no, they're the My Health app. You're going to be able to print a small wallet card off of the My Health app.
Yeah.
So that way you can carry it with you easily, so that way you don't have to have a charge to cell phone, which, by the way, is tracking you all the time. All you people that think there's some sort of microchip in the vaccine, as you type that into your cell phone. I can't. I've had enough of these people. It's enough. You're dumb. I can't. I've lost the capacity to be reasonable with those people.
Wait till they find out that the chips are in the horse dewormer.
Sorry?
Wait till they find out the microchips are in the horse dewormer.
Yeah, exactly. I can't. It's ridiculous that we even have to have this conversation. I mean, people right now are lucky that polio is gone.
Yeah.
Because in 10 years, you'd see a bunch of people in wheelchairs. It's ridiculous. I can't. I just don't understand the idea that people would turn away medicine, not only for themselves, but for the people in their community. We live in a society.
And thank goodness this is a video podcast now. I knew I could get you on a rant early if I could just get to that was just like, watch these little breadcrumbs that I'm going to set out right here. Okay, go. Yeah, that's fantastic. Now I do want to say, at this point we do know the Edmonton-Toronto game. They're working very hard to reschedule that game, and I'm not sure where how that's going to fall out. I know Chris Presson was on the radio, I believe it was tonight, saying that, or even this morning, that they are working on it and it likely will be rescheduled, and it might mean that they have to move some other games as well. I get that, and the league needs to have the game. That's my feeling on it. They need to have the game. There is a revenue that comes with the game. There is an exposure that comes with the game. I'm glad that they're willing to reschedule it. One thing, and before, because Ryan, I'm sure you could go off on this too, but I'm going to ask Mike first. I personally don't think that we should be playing this game, that made it the makeup game in Edmonton. I don't think that it's right I mean, and I understand that may have to happen just because the way the schedules are playing out. But if I had a choice, I would not want that, because I don't want to have a gate here for something that, was our problem. So, Mike, how do you feel about rescheduling? And I know that you were tinkering, you were saying there was a chance in October and those types of things, but how do you feel about that?
It's not, to me, it's just not as black and white as it's in Edmonton, therefore, we're benefiting from this, because we would have to be paying Toronto for that. To me, the bigger issue is Toronto needs exposure. They need to have a consistent product that the fans can go see and new fans can come see. I've seen pictures from people that sit on the side where the cameras are, and those stands are usually quite full, and there's nobody on the other side where the cameras are pointing towards. But we just need more people to get there. And if you start taking away their games, then that's just less and less people that are going to see these games live, and maybe they're not watching them on TV. I know a lot of people that bring new people to games so they can see the CFL in person. And to me, that's where you kind of become a huge fan. All of us went to games probably before we were watching them on TV, as much. So that's what we need to have, is an opportunity for those people in Toronto or the Toronto area to go to a game and see it. So I'm hoping that can happen. But if the only choice is it has to be played in Edmonton, the money will get shot back to Toronto. I mean, hell, they'd probably do it for half the 50-50. So that's for Paul Reckner.
That is.
But, at least there's a game on, but we got to do everything. Like play it at Varsity, play it, somewhere close by. They won't play it in Hamilton, but, play it close to Toronto, if not in BMO.
I agree. So here we go. Okay, Ryan, what do you think of that?
Yep. First and foremost, I think that it should have just been a forfeit. I think that if you forfeit the game rather than rescheduling the game, it sends a very clear message to the players that this is what will happen. You will lose a game check if this happens. And I think beyond the standings, beyond the rivalry, beyond everything else from a 14-game season, I think suspending and canceling the game sends that message that doesn't get sent by rescheduling it. As far as rescheduling the game to play in Edmonton, it's not the financial benefit of the game that concerns me from a competitive standpoint. It's we're at home, we're in our locker rooms, we're not on the road, we're not having to travel, we're not, we've got home fans, because it's not like the Elks aren't going to have an entire stadium full of chantlers every time they step to the line, right? So at that point now, Toronto's reward for having their game rescheduled when it wasn't their outbreak is to play at home and lose that home field advantage of crowd noise and everything else that comes with being at home. So I think for me, if they reschedule the game and it can be done in Toronto, then yeah, I'm fine with rescheduling the game. I would have rather have seen it be a forfeit because I think that absolutely sends the message to the other clubs and potentially other players that are vaccine holdouts to go out and get the shot, because they don't want to be the ones that causes their team to lose a game check. I think losing a game check is a big deal, and it should have been a big deal in a locker room. And unfortunately, I think the way the Elks have handled this in not saying which players have tested positive, not giving any indication if any of the players were vaccinated or unvaccinated throughout the breakthrough. Because if it comes out that, hey, yeah, somebody got it, but there are, 8 of our vaccinated players are among the positive tests, that's a lot easier to buy, right? Right now, as an outsider, it very much, the way they've handled it very much to me says, we had 13 unvaccinated players who have tested positive. And by the way, we're going to blame their wives for it. Like, come on. It was like everything about the way the Elks have handled this has been an absolute disaster from an outsider's point of view, from a PR standpoint, from an accountability standpoint. Jagarrett Davis in Hamilton broke protocol. They suspended him and said it's because he broke protocol.
Yep.
Well, who's the player who broke protocol in Edmonton? We don't know. They've not been suspended. They've not been transactioned onto a COVID list. Nothing has happened beyond just shutting the entire franchise down, which doesn't do anything to further the cause of other players in the league being pushed within their locker room to get the vaccination. Because right now there's been no penalty for it. Absolutely none.
Yeah, I can see that point. Absolutely. And I think it'll be interesting to see when the injury report comes out on likely Wednesday, I believe, this week, to see who lands where. And see where that. I've
heard some names, but I'll wait for that to be published.
Yeah.
I've heard quite a few of names surrounding it, and yeah, there might be a lot of bigger names in that franchise who are suddenly getting a maintenance day that they might not have otherwise gotten to get to that end of that 10-day quarantine.
Yeah, well, we'll see how things play out for sure. Mike, I can only imagine what is going on the chat on YouTube. But is there any questions or things we need to talk about before we try and set up this week's game?
Let's just see what we got there.
With a small, higher voice. Is there any Russians? Okay.
So Tim Capper was asking, his question is, do we really believe the Elks claim how the team was infected? Believe him or not?
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. That's a great line. Next.
Tyler does say that having the 209, 210 is doable.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. Okay. Might as well have that. That'll be great. Yeah.
That'll be nice. Tim Capper is saying that he is glad Ryan's doing well, so that's very nice. Then we have some music suggestions, which is good.
Wonderful. Good. Okay. So, hey, this is a great spot in the podcast to say, do you want to know what the music suggestions are? Then go to the YouTube and go through the comments to get all of the music suggestions. That'd be great. Yeah. While you're there, hit a little subscribe button. That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Tim Capper again, a hot take by Ryan that I so have to play on the flight deck this week.
Well then.
All right.
That's I think. Did you just give permission?
Yeah, of course.
Good.
There we go.
This is a pod network show, right?
Absolutely.
It is.
Tim's on a pod network show, so my audio is absolutely shareable.
Wonderful.
That's right. A pod brotherhood.
That's what it is.
And sisterhood.
Yes.
So then we have a lot of people that were basically everyone seems to be agreeing with what Ryan was saying about vaccinated versus unvaccinated, as well as the taking away my freedoms. Says Tim Capper as I buckle my seatbelt and follow the speed limit and wear shoes and shirts so I can have service at the grocery store.
Right. Yes. I'm not going to argue that at all. Yeah.
And then, and then the last up, Jerry Cooper agrees with Ryan on the forfeit for the same reasons he stated. Tim agrees as well. And then Tim adds that COVID transparency has been a joke in the CFL versus the NFL.
Interesting. I guess, that having watched what I did last year, it was pretty upfront on what was going on in the NFL for sure. Yeah, and this has been different. And you're right, Ryan, in the fact that maybe you set the example and that's what happens. The one thing I know, Mike, you and I were talking about this week is if there was going to be game checks not going across, that the PA would not be very happy with that. They'd probably grieve that pretty quickly.
More than likely, yeah.
And so one of the
I think they agreed to it though, didn't they?
No, they've said that they have.
I thought that was in the COVID agreement, was that if a team had an outbreak that caused a game to be forfeit and their team was below the 85% threshold of tier 1 personnel, then they would forfeit a game check. That was pretty public at the beginning of this conversation. Has that changed?
From what I remember, Brian Ramsey and Solomon and Lemon have said no, that it's not the case.
That they haven't said that they said the rule was out, but that the rule was out from the CFL, but it wasn't agreed upon by the PA. That was my last understanding. So now here's I did think of another if it came to the fact where you needed to have a forfeit, what if you did like a 50-0 forfeit? At least then you're not only are you going to be down in the standings, but you're also going to be down in any of your offensive
stats. Records
are going to be down, your defensive,
your tiebreakers,
like all of those things are. So then it's a much higher chance that you're not going to be making the playoffs. And I wonder if that is something that, it's a slight variant on it, but, and at least there is another penalty. What do you think of that? Sorry, let me clarify. If they couldn't do the game check side of things, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're there and you've got 1-0, 50-0. I mean, the idea of points for and against coming into a tiebreaker are so little. I think I'm not sure where in the tiebreaker scheme that is. I'm sure Mike already knows what step it is. But the for and against tiebreaker. I mean, yeah, does it matter if you forfeit and you lose 1-0 or 50-0? As long as, like, at the end of the day, it's a loss on your record, and it's probably not going to affect your tiebreakers too much when you're talking about for and against and common opponents and anything else like that. I think the last time that really came into play might have been 2010. When all the teams were 10-8 at the top of the West and all had kind of equivalent records against one another. And the perfect storm that would need to happen for that to come into play, I think is not going to happen, is not likely enough to happen for that to come into fruition. I mean, same thing for the team that is getting the win, right? They're only getting 1 point for it.
Right.
So should you be rewarding that team with such an astronomical points for, when the average points per game in the CFL this season have been about 21, 22? Is it, giving them 50? Well, now you've given them 2.5 games worth of points, right? So I think 1-0 is still the right choice. Plus it'll go down historically as you'll always be able to point to that game and say, that was the COVID forfeit because it was a 1-0 game.
Yeah. What's funny is this is the second
scoregami too, wouldn't it?
What's that?
Would have to be.
What?
Are you not aware of scoregami?
I am not aware of scoregami. Nope. No.
Oh, I feel so. You know that moment when like something happens to you and there's something just so amazing that you need to share it with people, and they're like, this is an audience that will love this to death.
Okay.
So Scoregami is a Twitter account that covers the NFL, not so much the CFL, but they cover the NFL. And they track scores that have never happened before. Okay. So if the score of a game like 39-28 has never happened before, they say it's a Scoregami. This is the first game in NFL history that's ever ended with this score. It's a Twitter account I follow. It's Scoregami, and they update the likelihood of Scoregami in games throughout the Sunday games. So it's such a weird little thing, and such a specific thing, I think, to football because of the way the games are scored. That 1-0, I think, would probably have to be a Scoregami for the CFL.
Mike?
Oh, it's got to be.
Okay.
I remember researching like the old World War II games, and I remember Calgary, I think they were the Altoma Tigers back then, beat Edmonton 4-0. They got a rouge in every quarter. That was it.
That's Moretti's favorite game.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Edmonton did lose to Calgary 1-0 in 1932, but again, that's sort of pre-CFL. No,
but that's pre-CFL.
It isn't a score.
Right.
You were so sad that it wasn't a Scoregami. It's like such sad face from Ryan. It's not a. You should reach out to them and see if they want to sponsor your podcast. Hey,
there it is.
But I think they're just a straight Twitter account. There's nothing behind it. It's a guy that does it, but he's got he keeps track, and you'll normally see like 1 or 2 a season of a score that's never happened before. And now that the NFL has become 4-down CFL football where they just throw the ball all the time, I think it's more likely to happen now than ever, because teams are scoring now more than ever because they have 4 whole downs to get 10 yards.
That's very true.
And only 100 yards for the field. Come on,
right.
It's easy.
They barely have to move. It's so narrow. I don't even know how they call that football.
Oh my, that's fantastic. Superfan, I hear you have a horde item for us tonight before we talk about setting up this game for next week. So what do you have for us?
Wait, stop before you do this.
Oh.
As I don't watch this show all that often, I need to make sure, is this an item he's adding to his collection, or is this an item that a lady of the night has touched?
Could be both. You don't know.
That was it.
Let's find out.
That's excellent. That's title of the podcast right there. Perfect. Yeah.
So when Paul was on, he had shown off something of from his collection. So I'm going to show something that's very similar from the same source. Oh, that's a heavy one.
Oh, that fantastic.
was created by James Franklin, and that was made for me. That was a gift. Absolutely incredible. He did sign on the back, and he wasn't sure whether to put number 14 or number 2, so
He put both.
he just had to spend, and he put both. But yeah, just an absolutely gorgeous sign. It's super heavy. It's all solid wood, but it's just fantastic, and it is going to have a wonderful place in my collection here somewhere. So.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. When did that actually arrive for you?
That arrived about a month ago.
Oh, awesome.
I want to say, and it came direct from him, so I now have his home address. So that's kind of nice.
Well, it's probably a good thing you're in Spruce Grove and I'm way over here. Yeah,
That's probably true.
that's probably yeah. One day he'll send me something. It's fine. I'll.
That's really nice. Like all except that big thing in the middle.
Oh,
Like,
the
I
white
like-
part right here.
I like the
Like
wood.
this little white part right there. No.
I like the wood. The color of the wood is very nice.
Yeah.
The shapes on the wood are a little suspect.
Well,
But otherwise, it's a beautiful piece.
I think we should ask James to send you one. It'd probably look good down in your room, right?
I mean, if he's a woodworker and he's got a horse on, I don't care what number he signs with.
He's
He
gonna-
does all
he can
teams.
sign
He does the
it.
league.
He can sign it James Franklin Hopeful.
Did you just
That would be.
Did you just say if he has a horse on? Because that's
No, he could put a horse on it
and
and then sign the back.
That's not what I
and
heard.
say-
Okay.
James Franklin, one day hopefully.
One day. Oh
Put out.
my.
Because as we have learned, no matter how long once always is, your players want to be Stampeders. And it's,
So this is a Calvin McCarty reference. Is that what you're doing?
I mean, not just him, but yes, also him.
Well, you know what's
Also
great?
Calvin McCarty.
I don't know if you're aware of this. Mike, do you know what Calvin McCarty's record is in the Labor Day game?
Labor Day game is not so good.
No. So
No.
Well, that's because he's always been on the wrong sideline.
no, he's going to take that record with him. It's going to be fantastic. That's the part that we're excited about for this week.
I mean, you guys can hope that, but you guys can't think that. There's no way. Like there's a part where love and logic separate, and it's with the results of the game this week.
Is this
Love
the guy
tells
saying that
you
his
that
team
the
goes
Elks have a
18-0 every year?
Love tells you that they have a chance. Logic tells you they're about to get destroyed.
And
Again,
we're back.
That's from the guy that says his team's going to go 18-0 every year.
And they will one year. There's going to be a year that I'm right, and forevermore I will be able to say, look, I was right once.
Well, your
And that will be
great-great-grandchildren, maybe. So we'll see.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
I don't care. Here's the we've talked about this before. Why would anyone ever set out and say, I think my team's going to lose 6 times this year?
Fire trucker.
That noise. My team's going to win every week. I'm not playing this game. My team is going to win every week. They're going to win the championship because that's why I love them so much, because they're amazing. That's what I want to see. I want to see them win every week. I don't want to rationally decide that they're going to lose 5 games. No one wants that. Why put that in the air? Why ever say to your team, I think you're only good enough to win most weeks? I think you're good enough to win every week. Let's go. That's what fans do. You don't show up at the stadium and go, not today, fellas. You show up at the stadium with your jantlers and your Jell-O shots and your delicious booze cupcakes, and you say, I'm going to win the game this week. And there's nothing wrong with that. So why would you ever suggest anything else at the beginning of the season when you're only making a liar out of yourself every week when you show up or turn on the TV?
So I guess, you know what? That's almost a valid argument. I like it.
It got Josh Smith this year. It got Josh Smith. We're getting closer.
We're getting
The Podsky guys predicted an undefeated season this year. Soon it will be all the network shows. They'll just go, look, we're going 18-0 this year because Ryan's right. I'm not ever going to suggest my team should lose a game. I'm going to tell you why they're going to win every single week. That's what you do on this show.
That is what we do
every
on this
week.
show.
You go, this is how we're going to win the game.
Right. That's right.
As long
Most
as
weeks
you
you're
win the
wrong.
last
But
one.
How has it felt over the first 4 weeks feeling that wrongness? Because it is different, like for you. I get it. Like it's
I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 14-game season this year. I feel like 700 is going to, or 7-7 is going to be good enough to get
700. That's going to be very difficult for you guys.
700 is also going to be good, but I think 500 is good enough to get into the playoffs. And I'm not necessarily concerned yet that the Stampeders are not going to be able to hit that mark. I think that when you look at the overall team construction and how much change there was between the last time they were on the field and the team that they put into the team they put on the field this season, it's astronomical. So the idea that it's going to take them a while to gel doesn't surprise me. They're getting better every single game, and they're going to continue to get better as time progresses. And, you know, sometimes you play a quarterback with a broken leg, and that turns out to be a bad choice. Other times that guy comes back, and how many teams have we seen get hot in November and go on to win a Grey Cup? That's when you need to be good. You don't need to be good now.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, you know, if that, because it is a different position for your team to be in at 1-3. It's not a common place for you. So
lately.
No, I would suggest the past 30 years that hasn't happened all that often.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, once or twice maybe. But look, it's a long season. We're gonna be what, at the end of in 10 days we're gonna be 3-3. So we're gonna be right where we need to be. And so I'm not at all worried yet.
All right. Tell me what you've watched Jake Maier come in. You've watched him have a couple of good games. What do you see good in Jake Maier?
Poise. It's not just important in Miss America. It's also important on a football field. And Jake Maier has it in spades. The guy comes out. He stood in the face of a terrifying Winnipeg defensive line, stood in, made the throws, 17 straight completions to get the job done, and move his team down the field. I think the Stampeders are a bad roughing the passer call last night away from winning that game. I think that the second call against Mike Rose, I mean, don't get me wrong. The first call is roughing the passer all day. Yeah. You're not allowed to German suplex a quarterback.
What?
That's just not okay. But the second one was close enough. There was a 19-yard penalty to get the Bombers out of trouble deep. That was a little bit of hand fighting, and so all of a sudden it was a 19-yard penalty to get them out of the shadow of the goalposts. I think they had very timely penalty calls last night that benefited the Bombers. I'm not saying that everything wasn't a penalty, but there were some that probably didn't make muster in other parts of the game. And when you think about one field goal either way is the only difference between a win and a loss last night, that's not so bad. You've got a quarterback that has gone over 300 yards in his first two starts. And since his first quarter, where he was really bad, no denying that, he came out and started 2 for 6 with 2 interceptions. Since then, he's been absolutely lights out.
Yeah. So what happens then if he does really well before Bo comes back? Bo comes back. What happens to the Maier in the offseason?
Well, he goes to Ottawa, right? Of course he does.
Of course he does.
Of
course he does.
Yeah. But does he stay in Ottawa?
What happens here in Calgary is that John Huffnagel collects players and he makes them into stars, and then other teams go, "Oh, could you just spare a starting quarterback, please?" Okay, you can have another starting quarterback. Could you just give us an entire receiving core, please? Please? All right, you know what, Pinball? You can have an entire starting receiving core as well. Well, there's a couple defensive ends that we really like. Could you pass those around too? Sure. You know what? Have a couple defensive ends. The list of players that started in Calgary and are on other teams right now in the CFL is astronomical. Let alone, I mean, Toronto West or Calgary West. Calgary East.
Calgary
there we
East.
Go.
There you
Figured
are.
out my direction. Hold on. Just need some go juice.
There we are.
Calgary East currently has 8 former Stampeders starting. Not 8 on the roster. They have 8 starters that were Stampeder players first. There's just so much. It's so the charity of the Calgary Stampeders is unmatched in the CFL.
Charity. That's an interesting way to put that.
Yeah, charity.
Okay.
We bring all these players up, we show you how good they are, and then you get them.
Okay.
It's like if Santa Claus taught you how to use your Xbox before he went back up the chimney.
Well, it's a good thing you're red and white. That's right, because that's what you are as Santa.
Yeah. I mean, it bursts out every facial pore.
The CFL Santa. That's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. It's John Huffnagel is pretty much Santa Claus. After Grey Cup, all the general managers get together for their meetings, and John sits in a chair, and all of them come and sit on his lap, and they say, "Oh, John, if we could just please, could you just send us a D-end? Could you not sign a D-end this year and let him come out to us?" And John goes, "Well, have you been a good boy?" And they say, "We're still under the SMS system, we swear." And then, John sends them a D-end for Christmas. It happens year after year after year. It's something we're accustomed to here, that it's hard to cheer against other teams because they're populated with the players that we cheered for before. It is what it is.
Oh my, that's one of the good ones. Okay, so we're setting up here. It's Labor Day weekend. Monday we've got 6 hours of glorious football. With us being the later game. I'm assuming that you guys are still doing the tailgates and things at the games, or where are you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we're down there. We're tailgating. Sheldon's got his burgers all fired up, and he's ready to go. And any Elks fan that wants to make the drive, do you own a skunk?
No,
What
that's my
happened there?
dog. That's my dog.
Oh, okay.
Come here, puppy. That's Wilson.
Oh.
You could just see his tail.
It's-
That's it. But it is Wilson.
Yeah, it just looked like a skunk's tail went by in the
I know.
background. Like,
He's got a Bernese. He's got that Bernese.
I know
painted
your
tail.
team stinks, but really.
Oh my! I didn't insult your dogs. Come on now.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't insult your dog. I insulted the imaginary skunk that I thought your dog was. Totally
is that what
different.
is that what it was? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, we're up and running with the tailgate. We have a good time. Anybody's welcome, of course. Come on down, and we got the grill fired up, and it's always a good time meeting and hanging out with people.
Absolutely. Now, Mike, what do you think our team is going to do on Monday in the midst of all of this? I like that. It's perfect. Yeah,
There we go.
There it is. Yeah. What do they have to do to get to that win, do you think?
Well, I think that they definitely need to, same thing I say every week, they just need to make sure that the team is going to be a little more one-dimensional, stop the run game as much as possible, keep the quarterback in the pocket and throwing, and let's see if our defensive backs are as good as we think they are.
Yep, that's a good challenge.
Fielding a team would be a great start.
That was actually what I was just going to say. We'll have to know who's actually going to be allowed to play, which we won't find out for another couple of days. So that could make a big difference. How many of those people on the O-line are actually going to be playing?
Or the D-line, or the linebackers, or the receiver. We don't know.
We have no idea. So, it'll be interesting. And if we actually can fill out an entire roster or not. Or
36.
36.
36.
36 is all we need. Yeah. So it'll be.
Well, and there's always the CFL practice roster. You can draw from the CFL practice roster as well.
And the 17 players on our rosters, our practice roster.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we will have, we will field a team. We will see how that goes. I think it's going to be interesting to see, just as we get to the late in the week, what guys are out there, and if those guys are getting the time to actually gel, and how is that going to work. So with all of the, like you said, Ryan, with everything kind of up in the air and we don't really know who's where, it makes it really hard to kind of predict this game and kind of see where things are going to go. So let's predict other games, shall we?
Yes.
I can predict this game.
Well, yeah, but we don't.
85.
No, we
Elks
don't.
2.
No, we don't do that, because you're on our show. When I'm on your show.
All right, you stole my shtick.
Yeah, exactly. And I did ask first, just so that you know. I did ask you first.
I know, of course you did.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay.
I guess then you took it. Is that better than saying you stole it?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
You appropriate.
Yeah, I asked nicely, and then I said, "This
Yeah,
is a good deal."
I'm not suggesting that it was anything nefarious.
Oh, well, that's what stole would infer, is that I was like stealing something. But...
I mean, I guess. I don't have to.
He was inspired by.
There we are.
Yeah, sure.
See, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Let's talk about,
as long as you give me credit every week.
I mostly, yeah. Okay, first game is Friday night. Montreal is in Ottawa. Ryan, who do you have in this game?
Is there? Come on. Is there Ottawa? Like, I understand that you have to pretend that Ottawa's a good team because they beat you, but Ottawa's not a good team.
No, they aren't.
They are a terrible football club, and at some point, it's going to run out for Marcel in Ottawa. Like, they're going to realize it. They're going to realize that, a fluke Grey Cup win on Henry Burris's best day ever doesn't mean that Marcel can put a team together. It's got to be over soon, and they're absolute garbage. And, all I know is that I imagine that Jake Maier's watching that game intently to see who he's going to throw the ball to next year.
So you're picking Ottawa then?
I will not be picking the Red Blacks for any reason, I don't think, the rest of the season. I think they're an absolute trash panda of a franchise.
Hey, trash pandas are cute. What the hell? No, I'm kidding.
I'm looking forward to when you're on Mouchoir.
What did you say, Mike?
I'm looking forward to when he's guesting on Mouchoir.
Yes, that'll be great.
Oh, I thought you said they should take their team to the abattoir. That's
wow, big words.
Right?
Super fan. Who do you have in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to have Montreal taking this one for sure. Yeah. That team's got some issues.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll see a bounce back from stand back. So
yeah, possibly.
That's a little fantasy.
Oh, good for him, because he didn't do anything for me this week when
sure
I picked
did
him.
not.
$7,000 waste of money for fantasy teams. But I mean, Montreal's going to win. I don't know though. I gotta say, this sounds funny, but it might be a closer game than we think, because Vernon Adams can't seem to throw to a check down. He's got to throw downfield all the time into triple coverage, and I don't know why he keeps choosing that. But I mean, it worked.
And so many drops too.
Yeah,
his receivers, even the open receivers, are dropping the ball. And Ottawa's defense is good.
Yes,
but you can't win in this league. You can't win 10-7 in the CFL. It's just not going to happen. So as good as Ottawa's defense is, the only reason they beat you is a defensive touchdown.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only reason they beat you. And they're not, if they don't score a defensive touchdown, they're not going to win, because they're not scoring an offensive touchdown unless Lewis Ward picks it up and runs it in himself.
Which
could happen.
We'd all like to see.
Because he's the only guy that scores points for that team.
That would be amazing. Could you imagine to watch that? That'd be great. All right, next game. Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan in the Sunday game of the Labor Day weekend. It's not a Labor Day game, but it's a
classic.
Yeah. Sure. Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan. Superfan. Who do you got?
Oh, the pre-banjo bowl.
The pre-banjo bowl. Is that so? Is that like the harmonica bowl? Is that what comes before the pre-banjo? Okay.
Whatever's the most annoying. I don't know.
Yeah.
Accordion bowl.
Isn't it getting lost in the woods that comes before the banjo?
Getting lost.
I remember that movie correctly.
Getting lost in the woods game. Perfect. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. What was the question? Oh, right. Who's going to win the game? I don't know. I think that they're going to split the two games between this and the Banjo Bowl, and I'm just going to go with the home team and say Saskatchewan wins this and Winnipeg wins next week.
All right. Well, I already know. I'm pretty sure I know how Ryan's going to pick this one because of some previous rules that he has in place in his life. So I am going to say that the Saskatchewan, the rectangle, does find a way to win at home because Ryan is going to say.
I think Winnipeg wins.
There you go.
As we know, Andrew Harris is full of piss, vinegar, and trace amounts of whatever else you want to talk about. I think Saskatchewan isn't going to play him as well as Calgary typically does. Held him to 80 yards, by the way. The list of 100-yard games from Andrew Harris against Calgary, you can count them on like two fingers in his career. And I don't know what that is, but Calgary beats him up better than anybody. But I think the Bombers come in and ruin the day for Saskatchewan, if only because Saskatchewan was the second last or last, which one came first this morning, team to put in a COVID protocol.
They would be
I think one of them was 9:59, one of them was 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think Winnipeg just gets in there and gets the job done. I don't imagine they have as many drops as they had against Calgary this week, and they were able to get defenders or receivers open. And if they're moving the ball through the air, that only opens up the ground game for Andrew Harris and company. So I think Winnipeg shows out and beats Saskatchewan this week.
Fantastic. All right. And then the last game, Toronto versus Hamilton. This one is in Hamilton. I've seen some great moves from Toronto and they really started to go and they've had extra time. But I think home opener for Hamilton on Labor Day. I got to go with the Tiger Cats in this one. Ryan, who do you got?
So this sounds like a classic matchup. What day is this one again? This one's on Labor Day?
Yes, it's a Labor Day.
Oh, so it's a Labor Day classic.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got so confused because some people call a Sunday game a Labor Day classic. I think I like Hamilton in this one too. I think Hamilton has also been better than they've shown this year. And I like them to take down Toronto at home. As far as the future goes for that club, I'm not quite sure, but I do like them at home this week against the Argos.
Awesome. Super fan.
Have we heard who's quarterbacking for Hamilton? Is Masoli going to be back, or are we going with the Dane?
I think they we haven't heard, but
I mean, Dane won.
Assume it would be Dane. Yeah,
I agree.
Exactly. Yeah.
But do you lose your job to injury? I think if Dane plays, they win.
Okay. Perfect.
If
Drew
Masoli,
Bledsoe
I don't think
says
so.
yes.
Oh, excellent.
What's that?
Can you lose your job to injury? Drew
That's
Bledsoe
true.
says yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy
he
didn't
lost
do
his
anything.
job to both Tom Brady and Tony Romo on back-to-back teams because
true.
he was injured for a game.
That's true. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out. So, all right. Now, Ryan, would you like to give us a prop bet for the game that is coming on Monday?
I never actually get to do this part. I never get to do this part.
I see. I know. Yeah, you get to do. Usually, you're the line setter, but today you get to be the prop bet person.
Okay. Let's go with.
Oh, here comes the Stampede.
Let's go with total players on the Elks roster. Total players on the Elks roster. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I have a line for it. I'm ready when you.
Yeah, you're gonna say 46.
Nope. No, I was not.
It'll be under.
No.
No, I was
All right.
not.
Total players on the Elks roster, on the Elks game day roster.
All right. I'll set the line at 43.5.
43.5.
So, Superfan, what do you got?
Oh, it'll be over. They'll have players that fill the entire roster, and it'll be 45.
Ooh. All right. Ryan, are you going to play the villain here? Or?
I don't think it's villain. I think it's science. I think I'm going to play the science because I'm willing to bet that you have more married players. And you know those wives constantly responsible for COVID outbreaks.
Fire trucker.
How does that even happen today? I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to put it at like 42, 43. I think it'll be close. But I think that they're going to have the under.
All right. I wanted you to just pick the under. I'm going to pick over as well.
Of course.
Fill from something.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We'll find a way. I mean,
I know
we'll have bottos out there. We'll see. Bottles. We'll have maybe bottles.
Bottles?
Maybe that's what we'll have out there.
Out of cans, does that count?
Bottles of ivermectin.
Yeah, it's got the
that comes in tube.
Gatorade bottles. Maybe we have some of those. Oh no, the coach is in Saskatchewan now. That's not. They'll
Right.
stay on the sidelines now. We're good. Okay. All right, before we do plugs and things, let's do this very quickly. This episode is brought to you by the Edmonton Community Foundation. The foundation acts as a bridge between donors and charities to create a strong, vibrant community for generations to come. You can start an endowment fund yourself or with a group, and once it reaches $10,000, it can start distributing funds. Vital Signs is an annual checkup conducted by Edmonton Community Foundation in partnership with Edmonton Social Planning Council to measure how this community is doing. This year's focus is on millennials, and you can learn more at ecfoundation.org. Ryan, thank you as always for coming on and having a great time with us, chatting all things Elks and Stamps. Every year we like having you on here before the Labor Day game. Tell everybody where they find you and, of course, the amazing pod you do.
I think if you're looking to catch me on tape, you can find me at Horsemen Radio. .com or Horsemen Radio podcast, which is on all of your providers. We do a really adhesive show that's able to really talk about all things Stampeders, all things CFL, and really put everything together without getting into a sticky situation at all. That's, we try our best. So Horseman Radio on all of your podcast networks. And I've run out of tape puns, but I do have two more rolls in front of me. So if you want to see us, check us out at Horseman Radio. You can follow me at BBCanRyan on any social media platform that exists. That's where you're going to find me. And it's coming soon, promoing in advance, is going to be Celebrity Net Fights 2. Where we are going to have reality stars stepping in the boxing ring, and that's going to be happening in December towards the Lethbridge area. We're going to be doing potentially a New Year's Eve show, so you can come down on New Year's Eve and see your favorite reality stars beat the crap out of one another. And there will be more information about that on my Twitter feed throughout everywhere over the next little while. But Celebrity Net Fights 2. Coming to you live on pay-per-view and from Lethbridge, Alberta.
You called the last round of those, did you not?
I did. I was down in Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, and I got to call the fights. It was a good time. You could tell a lot of my followers are reality TV people and not CFL people, because they were all like, "Who knew Ryan could talk like this?" And I'm like, everybody that knows me. But yeah, it was a great time. We had a couple knockouts. We had some knockdown dragout fights. We had a couple of ref stoppages. So it was a really entertaining night. And it's still available, by the way, on fight.tv for just $19.99 if you want to catch it. It was Big Brother Canada versus Big Brother US. And we got to see a lot of people step in the ring and box. It was a hell of a good time.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Superfan, where does everybody find you?
Oh God, I'm just still thinking about the whole celebrity fighting. If it can be anything like that show they had on Fox 10, 12, 15 years ago, where they had Danny Bonaducci versus Barry Williams and China versus
very
Joey
similar.
Bonadducco.
Only better boxing. It was better boxing. Like we had the people committed to it. They were training with coaches for months and months in advance, and so there was actually some pretty good boxing.
That has to be because on Fox they were just guys that were in prison. So anyway, you can find me at 56 Sparkies, and then the History and Horde segment will be at EDM History, HISTOREE.
Wonderful. Of course, make sure you are following Pay It Forward with Football because they are still sending people to games.
Yes.
Making sure that we are spreading the joy everywhere, including our football game. There's lots of great shows, of course, on the Canadian Football Podcast Network, much like Ryan's show. So check all of those out, cfpodnetwork.ca. And, of course, find out all the great shows on the Alberta Podcast Network at albertapodcastnetwork.com. And of course, you can join in the huddle with us anywhere at the Turf District. That's on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on Instagram, which is as far as we've got. If you would like to have TikTok, feel free to follow Ryan. You have one, don't you?
I don't have TikTok.
Oh, I could have sworn you did. Okay. All right.
No, I'm an adult.
Okay.
He's a Snapchat.
That's what it is. Okay, perfect. I like how you no, I'm an adult. Really? Okay. Yeah, okay.
Kind of.
Okay, excellent.
Twitter's more my space.
Legally.
I don't dance. I just talk.
Yes. And that you do well, and that's why we love you. So for Ryan, Superfan Mike, and of course Commissioner Kayla, who couldn't join us tonight, remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week when we talk about the Elks winning and going to 2-3. No, 2-2. Yay.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.